So, herzlich willkommen im Schafhof, dem Europäischen Künstlerhaus des Bezirks Oberbayern, zu unserer 21. Sendung von Output im Rahmen von Focus Europa 2 Live. So, welcome to Schafhof, to the European Center for Art of the District Council of Upper Bavaria. And it's the 21st screening of Output, and we are in the framework of Focus Europe Second Live. It is a series of talks, and I'm very happy that Zuzana Kotinkova is here as a guest and to do an introduction for this series of talks with artists about our residency program, our network, and it is all in the framework of the European Art Fellowship of the District Council of Upper Bavaria. And I'm happy that Košice Artists in Residence program is part of it since last year, 2020. And so please, Zuzana, introduce yourself a little bit and talk about your residency program, your staff, your people, your colleagues, and your experiences. So great that you are here. Thank you very much. And let's start.
Thank you for invitation. Hello, I'm Zuzana Kotikova. I'm from Košice, from Slovakia. I'm a project manager of KR Košice Artists in Residence program. And shortly about me, I studied in Prague. I studied humanities. I finished a bachelor degree, and then I moved back to Košice, where I focused on work on in a culture field. So first I worked with Tabačka Kulturfabrik, one culture center here in Košice. And then I started to work in 2013 on KAIR, on Košice Artists in Residence program. The program started already in 2011 as one of the key development projects for Košice European Capital of Culture. And Košice was European Capital of Culture in 2013, but as it is usual, like some of the projects started already before. And KAIR is one of the projects which survived after the implementation of the ECOC project, and I think successfully developed into another ways and stages. So in 2016, from 2016, we are like independent association. So we separated from European Capital of Culture organization, and we founded our own organization. We were really lucky because our like mother organization just gave us all like contacts, materials, everything. So we could really like just, we didn't have to start from the beginning, but we could just continue on what was developed like in 5 years before. So it's already our like 10th year of the residency program and 5th year after we separated. And I can say that we are like a small association, but I think that we are stable, and we are on the map of the European residency programs. So we have many different partners from Europe, but also, for example, in Middle East, Georgia, Japan, and we focus on usually on bilateral exchanges. So we don't only invite foreign artists to Košice for the residencies, but we also send Slovak artists to abroad. For example,
that is the way when we met, and I'm very happy that we became one of your partners, because we have the same philosophy and the same strategy to work with this kind of really artist exchange, because I think it's important to just not have one person and invite and what is nice, but to have really this kind of sustainable exchange and from both sides. And I mean, I like that in this process of the European Cultural Capital, they established this artist in residency. So that already this time they saw it is important to do this personal connection between artists, because I mean, artists are always more than one person, because they do artworks, they show it, people can see it. So for me, it's a kind of starting of a wave, and people can participate later on in one of the artist exchange. And so it was great. So why did you decide to do this kind of bilateral exchange? So why not just invite the best artists and be proud of? So what is the idea behind that it is important for you?
For us, it's important to create connections between artists and art scenes, and I think it cannot go only one way. So if we want to support local art scene, we cannot only invite people to come, but we also need to provide experience to Slovak artists to go to travel, to inspire themselves from other countries. And so this part is also it's very important for us. But I have to say that at the beginning we were focused only on artists from Košice. But now we also send artists from whole Slovakia to abroad, because Slovak art scene is very small, and everybody knows everybody. So for us, even if the person doesn't live in Košice, still they can influence the local scene by the experience they have. And of course, we want to give artists a chance to present themselves abroad, which is really great to have it in portfolio, in CV, that you were presented somewhere else than just in Slovakia.
Yeah, and I think also that the artists start to build up their networks in each country, and so it gets much more complex, and so there are much more meeting points and so on. So I think, and of course it's important to have an institution on the other side, like you in Slovakia, and so it's not then only one person we have a exchange with. We have also the institution with the experiences, with all the people. And so on. I mean, I know Košice is also inside Slovakia. It's also a kind of center of contemporary art. So when I was there was a big show of contemporary artists from whole Slovakia. So you are not just the second biggest city in Slovakia, when I understand well, no?
Yes, we can say that that Košice has really vivid culture scene. We have really great galleries, culture centers, really nice cinema club, so even on the scale of a city as small it is, it less than 250,000 people living in Košice, still the art scene is really, really nice. And we have really great institutions like East Slovak Gallery, which is regional gallery, but it shows people from whole Slovakia. For example, now we are preparing exhibition there with the artists from Georgia. So it's Slovak curator. It was part of the residency that Slovak curator went to Georgia. And now we have group exhibition of Slovak and Georgian artists, for example. Or there is a Šopa gallery, and we share a space with this gallery. So our studios are connected with it, which is also really important for us, that artists are not somewhere outside the city, outside the art scene, but they are always there when there are some events, or they can meet people on everyday basis. Not now, but in normal conditions, there are always artists coming, interesting people, and so on and so on. Then there is a Cinema Usmev. We also cooperate with them on some screenings of experimental films which are created during the residencies. And for example, there is Tabačka Kulturfabrik Culture Center, which is also a really nice space they have a gallery space, big space for concerts or theater pieces. and so on and so on. So I can,
No, yes, it's great to hear, and I only had a glance for 2 days, but we visit some parts, and we will hear from Laura Leppert as well. She was there at your place in the last year, so she will talk about that. Even in these difficult times, she met people. She enjoyed very much the cooperation, the work at your place, and also with you together. So, and this is a very amazing thing that you are, I think, one residency program with a really, sophisticated theme background for each year. So, for that you invite artists. So maybe you could talk about a little bit about the reason to do this kind of background work and this kind of conceptual background, and what were your experiences with that?
Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of the program, first maybe 5 years, we were really focused on that people who come to Košice, they should somehow reflect the city, to do the work about the city, about their experience, and so on and so on. But then we realized that if it's always the same team or the same people working with artists, we started to kind of recyclate the places which we showed them, the people they met, and so on and so on. So we realized that this this topic of a city of Košice is really fulfilled. After I don't know how many 50 people who were reflecting it, So we were searching for approach, how to do it, and we decided that that in our team there are several topics which we are really interested in, and if after a few years you want to continue on running the residency program, you need to work on the topics which are really interesting for you, especially if we are a small institution and it's very personal. So if I can say, we are 4 people in a team. It's one curator, one producer for artists, for everyday production, one person for PR, and me as as a project manager. So it's really a small group of people, always working on the program. So we were discussing a lot, what kind of topics are interesting for us, and we were missing really somehow to have more engaged approach to the residencies, and we also really like scientific approach, really interdisciplinary. So we really are trying to connect people with other experts or other artists who have who have a similar interest, and we really give a strong focus on artistic research. So these were just starting points for our searching for what will be our topics, and since we are living in times of crisis, we decided that we will focus on it from different points of view. So, for example, yes, there is this first layer, reflection of current crises, if we talk about ecology, health, economy, society, and we want to search it from different points of view. So one is holistic point of view, that me as a person, I'm part of a whole world, and I need to reflect it, and I need to me as an individual, I have to be responsible to the world, to the environment, communities, nature. For example, what it means, the expansion of human activities to the places where they don't belong, why we go to fragile ecosystems, why we go to space and leave a lot of trash there, and so on and so on. But then we also really want to reflect personal experience. So, for example, very interesting topic for us is ecological grief. for example, that we really cannot do anything with this situation, or we have a feeling that we cannot do anything, or that we are like really facing a lot of fear nowadays, and how we really like, what can we do with it if we talk about all the crises we have around, you know. And we want to look at the present, but we also want to encourage people to encourage artists to look into the future, like what will be after this crisis, like what are the, like maybe new or different forms of political or culture group activities, what it will mean to be like in a group activity, or like what it means for us to be in some kind of like coexistence after the crisis. So, and these topics are like last year it was like the first layer, so we have it really wide, and we are still observing it, and we want to like every year to do more and more steps to focus more and more. So we don't just push something aside, but we want to go more in depth. So what will bring artistic research to us, we want to reflect it, and then, you know, to continue on the next year. So this is our approach, yeah, for now.
No, it's great, and I think it gives the artistic work, it gives a great framework for the artistic work, and I think people, also artists, they're inspired to take this challenge, to deal with things. And of course, you invite these people who are in their work activities, they are close to the themes, of course. So you choose it on the base of these applications when you see that they are dealing with these subjects anyway. And so, so I hope, and I'm very curious how will be the artist from Germany, from Upper Bavaria in this year. So I think with Laura, you had a great artist last year, very just working on this field, what you had on the theme you had last year. Yeah, so what is maybe as because we have to finish when it is the nicest point, when it's most interesting. So maybe if you haven't thought about the importance of artists and residencies in general, or maybe even especially in this time, because now we mustn't meet people and so on, but still we know that it is very important to have personal connections. And so what is your idea from the artist in residency? So why it is important, and not only for the artist, but in general also for the whole society?
For the whole set, yeah, it's it depends on the approach of the residency, because there are so many different types. There are like micro residencies, longer residencies, like residencies which last 1 year, you know, and so on and so on. So I can only talk about our approach, which we have. Of
course, yes, yeah.
We usually do 2 months residencies or 3 months residencies, but 2 months is minimum. And for us, it's really important to create connections between people. So it doesn't only mean to create connections between artists, but as well like our institution with artists with maybe another institution, another artist, but also with experts they can meet during the residency. So we really give a lot of guidance to artists during the residency to have a chance to meet as many people as possible and to work with as many people as possible. And if we create like long-term connection between some of them, we have it as a huge success. So this is the most important point for us. We also in the future, like we want to go more maybe in scientific way, so to create connections with scientists. But now it's really hard, you know, to create connection with anybody. But let's see. We are starting just today, like right now, one artist is arriving to Košice.
Oh, good, so great. So greetings, of course, and just, you know, it's not by chance that you are a very close cooperation with the Sobka Gallery. So to show and to introduce the artworks, or even the process of the artwork during a residency, it's interesting for all the other people as well, because I mean, artists supposed to be sensitive for all the surroundings and for the processes, how those happen, and they transform it in an art works or in presentations that other people can feel and can participate on it. So I think that's why it goes rather much more so outside of this inner circle. What is very important to have a kind of dynamic to work together, to know things, but then it also gets farther and farther to all the people who can see the artworks, who can, for example, listen our talks or the talks with the artists we will have now in the next weeks. Yeah, thank you very much. It was a great kind of inspiration to see why it is interesting, and it's the same for me. I mean, I'm very happy that we have this network, these cooperations with different institutions throughout Europe. And especially it was always very nice to talk with you and to see what you are doing, what a great work you do.
Thank you very much.
Greetings to everybody in Košice, and yeah, hope we will see each other maybe this year or next year for exhibition at our place as well.
I hope so, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.